Okay, so get this. XPeng, the company, for electric cars, right? Well, and they just dropped a pretty big announcement. They've built a humanoid robot. They're calling it Iron. And this isn't like a little robot toy. This thing is 5'10". It weighs 154 pounds and has over 60 joints. That gives it a crazy range of motion. Like we're talking 200 degrees of freedom. Basically, it can move, well, more like a human than any robot we've seen. But here's the really interesting part. Iron is powered by, get this, a 40-core AI chip. And XPeng designed this chip themselves. It's called the Turing AI chips. So this robot, it's not just moving on these like pre-programmed paths. This thing can reason and it can make decisions.
Yeah.
And what's really wild is that the AI tech behind Iron, it's shared with their autonomous vehicles. So it's really built on some seriously advanced stuff. And the mind-blowing part, Iron is already out there working. XPeng is using it in their factories for all sorts of tasks, installing screws, sorting parts, even working with delivery robots. This is huge. This isn't just like a cool tech demo. This is a sign of how fast things are moving in the world of robotics. We're talking about AI-powered robots, humanoid robots, potentially becoming a regular part of our lives, maybe even as common as smartphones. Like, stop and think about that for a second. If Iron can handle factory work, what's stopping it from doing other things? I'm talking retail, offices, maybe even in our homes someday. This is where it gets really exciting and honestly a little bit scary too. This whole thing has me thinking, what's going to happen to jobs if robots can do so many things that humans can? And what about like the ethical side of all this? As robots get smarter and more capable, what rules do we need to put in place? I mean, there are some big questions to think about here, and we're really only just scratching the surface, so it's not just going through the motions. This thing, Iron, is actually learning and adapting as it goes. It uses something called an end-to-end large AI model and something else called XPeng's Eagle Vision system. This helps it move around on its own, get into different positions like, sitting or even lying down. It can even do all sorts of complex things with its hands, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. So this means Iron can potentially do way more than like those older robots that could only follow like a set of pre-programmed instructions. You know what I mean? This thing can see what's happening around it and then react, which makes it super versatile. I mean, think about it. If they can train Iron to work in a factory, imagine what else they can train it to do. Could you picture Iron, like helping out in hospitals, taking care of older people in their homes, maybe even like serving us food at a restaurant? I mean, the possibilities are kind of mind-blowing. But of course, with all this cool new tech comes some serious questions, like what happens to jobs when robots like Iron can do so many things? Will robots replace human workers like altogether, or will they help us, do things better and free us up for more like creative work? It's a question that's been around, for a while, but it's definitely getting a lot more urgent with robots like Iron becoming a reality. Another thing that's really interesting about Iron is how it could change how we like interact with technology in general. With its human-like looks and ability to move around and interact with its environment, it could make interacting with machines feel a lot more, well, natural and intuitive. I mean, we're seeing this already with things like voice assistants and chatbots. But Iron definitely takes it to a whole new level. Like, imagine having a robot that not only understands what you're saying, but it can also anticipate your needs and help you out before you even ask. I mean, it's a pretty wild concept when you really think about it. You can't really talk about Iron without at least mentioning Tesla's Optimus robot, though. They're both humanoid robots. They have, similar abilities. And the companies behind them, well, they both have big plans for AI and automation. But having competition, in this space at least, is a good thing. It pushes everyone to innovate faster and do things that, seemed impossible a few years ago. And let's not forget that China has been investing like heavily in robotics for a long time now. So companies like XPeng are really at the forefront of this robotic revolution. And that brings up another really important point, the global implications of Iron's development. China is moving fast with this stuff, AI and robotics, and that's going to shake things up in the tech world for sure. It's like a wake-up call for other countries, I think. If they want to stay competitive, they got to invest in research and development. One thing that really stands out to me about Iron is how it could totally change how we view robots, Like we used to think of robots as, well, cold, emotionless machines. But Iron, with its human-like design and advanced AI, kind of challenges that whole idea. Makes you wonder, could robots like Iron actually become companions, helpers, or even friends? I mean, it's a question that will probably spark a lot of debate as humanoid robots become more, well, common in our lives. The big question, of course, is like, what does the future hold for Iron? And robots like it, right? The truth is we're really just at the very beginning of this whole journey. But one thing is for sure, the development of Iron is huge. It's a milestone in the world of robotics, and it's going to be really fascinating to see how it all plays out, how it shapes the world we live in. And get this, XPeng said that they actually plan to start selling iron commercially, like sometime next year. So this technology that seems like something straight out of science fiction, it could be something that we can actually buy and use in the not-too-distant future. It's a really exciting time to be following the world of robotics, don't you think? But before we, get ahead of ourselves, let's take a closer look at what iron can do right now and the tech that makes it all possible. One of the most impressive things is just how well iron can move around. It's got over 60 joints and 200 degrees of freedom. Iron can move in ways that, well, robots could only dream of before. It can walk, sit, stand, even pick things up and use them with incredible dexterity. I mean, that level of mobility is essential if iron is going to work in, real-world environments. If you want a robot that can actually help you around the house or in an office, it needs to be able to climb stairs, open doors, and interact with things in a natural way. And, well, that's exactly what iron is designed to do. But moving around is just part of the story, right? The real magic of iron is in its AI brain. As we talked about before, iron runs on XPeng's own Turing AI chip. It's a really powerful processor that lets it think, learn, and adapt to its environment. This is a big leap from older robots, the ones that could only follow pre-programmed instructions. Iron can actually be trained to do a wide range of things. It can even learn new tasks as it goes, which is pretty amazing. The ability to adapt is what makes iron so versatile, I think. It means you could use it in tons of different situations and easily reprogram it to do new things, as needed. Okay, now let's talk about iron's senses. For a robot to interact with its environment effectively, it needs to be able to perceive the world around it, right? So that's where XPeng's Eagle Vision system comes in. It uses a bunch of cameras, sensors, and AI algorithms to give iron a complete 360-degree view of its surroundings. It's basically like giving the robot superpowered vision. With Eagle Vision, iron can identify objects, avoid obstacles, even recognize human faces and emotions. And this level of awareness is really key for iron to be able to interact with humans safely and naturally. Imagine a robot that can not only understand what you're saying, but can also read your body language and adjust its behavior accordingly. That's the kind of human-robot interaction iron is designed for. It's this combination, advanced mobility, powerful AI, and incredible senses that makes iron such a revolutionary development, in the field of robotics. So we've talked about all the amazing things that iron can do and the technology that's behind it all. But now let's zoom out for a second. What does a robot like iron actually mean for society as a whole? One of the most obvious impacts is going to be on the workforce. As robots get more sophisticated, they'll have the potential to automate a lot of the jobs that humans currently do. This could mean, unfortunately, that some people lose their jobs, but it could also create new opportunities in fields like robot development and maintenance. And as robots take over those more routine tasks, it could free up humans to focus on more creative and complex work, which would be a good thing. But the impact goes way beyond jobs, though, right? Robots like iron could change how we live, how we work, how we interact with each other. Imagine a world where robots are helping us with chores, keeping older folks company, even teaching our kids. These are just a few examples of how robots could completely transform our lives. Of course, any new technology comes with potential risks. One concern is that, robots could be used for bad things. Imagine a robot that's programmed to do harm, or hack to steal information, or cause chaos. I mean, it's essential that we think about these risks now and figure out ways to prevent them from happening. Another challenge is making sure that robots are actually used ethically and responsibly. As they become more intelligent and independent, we need to make sure that they're programmed to act in a way that aligns with our values, right? This is definitely a complex issue, no easy answers there, but it's a conversation we need to have as a society as we enter this new age of sophisticated robots. Now let's talk about some of the other players in the humanoid robot game. Like I mentioned before, XPeng isn't the only company developing this kind of technology. Tesla's working on their Optimus robot. And there are tons of other companies, big and small, investing in this area. And this competition is a good thing. It really is. It's pushing everyone to innovate faster, which is great for us, the consumers. As these companies try to outdo each other with the most advanced robots, we can expect to see big improvements in how well they work, how affordable they are, how easy they are to get our hands on. And as humanoid robots become more common, we're going to see them integrated into more and more parts of our lives. So let's look at some of the industries that are probably going to be transformed by humanoid robots. Manufacturing is already using robots in a big way. They're doing things like welding, painting, assembling products. As robots get even smarter, they'll be able to do more complex tasks like quality control, inspection. I mean, using robots in manufacturing means increased productivity, efficiency, and safety. Healthcare is another area that's like ready for a robotic revolution. Robots could help with patient care, surgery, rehabilitation. They could lift and move patients, monitor vital signs, even perform minimally invasive surgeries. I mean, using robots in healthcare could lead to better patient outcomes, lower costs, and it could even help address the shortage of healthcare workers, which is a huge issue. The service industry is another place where humanoid robots could make a big impact. You could have robots serving food, cleaning rooms, providing customer service. This would boost efficiency, cut costs, and free up human workers to focus on more complex and engaging tasks. And of course, we can't forget about the potential impact of robots in our homes, right? Robots could help with cooking, cleaning, childcare, and be companions for, older adults or people with disabilities. Having robots in our homes could improve our quality of life, give us more free time, and even make our social interactions richer, which is really interesting. I mean, as you can see, the possibilities for humanoid robots are almost endless. And as this technology keeps evolving, we can definitely expect even more innovative and transformative applications to come up. But it's important to remember that while robots can automate a lot of tasks, they're not meant to replace human ingenuity, creativity, and empathy, right? The point is to use robots to enhance our abilities, not to replace us altogether. And remember, robots are tools. They can be used for good or for bad. It's up to us as a society to make sure they're used ethically and responsibly. They need to serve humanity, not the other way around. So before we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Iron, the AI humanoid robot, let's recap the main points. The biggest takeaway is that Iron shows just how quickly robotics is advancing. We're seeing AI, machine learning, advanced sensors all coming together to create robots that can do things we never even thought possible before. And this trend is only going to accelerate in the coming years, so that's something to think about. Second, humanoid robots have a ton of potential applications. From factories and hospitals to, restaurants in our homes, robots could change almost every aspect of our society. As this tech gets cheaper and easier to get, we're going to see robots become a more integrated part of our lives for sure. And finally, the development of humanoid robots brings up some big questions. Ethical questions, social questions that we really need to be thinking about. As robots become more intelligent and independent, we need to make sure they're used responsibly and ethically. We need safeguards to prevent robots from being used for harmful purposes. And we need to have, an open and honest conversation about what role robots will play in our society and how we can ensure that they're benefiting humanity. So where do we go from here? Well, the creation of Iron is just the beginning. We're on the edge of a new era of robotics, one where robots will play an even more important role in our lives. It's a super exciting time to be alive, but it's also a time for, careful consideration. We need to embrace the potential of this new technology while also being aware of the risks that come along with it. And we all need to work together to make sure that robots are used to create a better future for everyone. You know what's really stuck with me about Iron? It's at XPeng. They see it working in homes and offices, not just factories, which is interesting, right? It's not just about robots doing hard labor anymore. It's about robots becoming, a part of our everyday lives. And it really makes you think, what would it be like to have a robot that could help out with chores, maybe run errands, or even just hang out with you? I mean, it's a question that really starts to blur the lines between science fiction and reality. And that's what I find so exciting about all this. Well, to be honest, a little bit unnerving too. If we're talking about robots being in our personal lives, we really have to think about the bigger picture. What happens to our relationships with each other if robots can, fulfill some of those roles? These aren't easy questions, and there's no right answer. But they're questions we need to start asking ourselves now. I mean, the future is coming, and it's coming fast. The choices we make today are going to shape the world of tomorrow. So here's a final thought to leave you with as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into the world of Iron. This robot is a powerful reminder that technology, it's a double-edged sword. It has the potential to help us solve some of our biggest challenges, but it also comes with risks that we can't ignore. We have the power to choose how we use it, though. It's up to us to decide what kind of future we want. One where robots help us thrive, or one where we, lose sight of what it means to be human. It's a lot to think about, for sure. But that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of Iron, the AI humanoid robot. I hope you found it as interesting and thought-provoking as I did. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep questioning.